Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios. We have this edition of Trooper Talk. We have Trooper Slater here, and we have Trooper Hagstrom. And so you pull someone over, and they say they don't. So talk to us about when they say they don't want to do your.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sobriety test. They don't want to do your blood draw, right? What are the consequences when it comes to the license?
So here in the state of Nevada and all states around the U.S., it's a privilege to drive. So it's not a right to drive a car. You get afforded the privilege to drive a car here in the state of Nevada. So when you do choose to drive here in the state of Nevada, we have what's called implied consent. So it's implied that upon a law enforcement officer's request to submit to an evidentiary test of your blood, that you will submit to the test. So the consequence of refusing that is that you lose your license for a year. So you lose your license for a minimum of a year.
Mandatory.
Yeah, mandatory.
No questions asked.
State law.
Yeah.
State law.
So you have a mandatory minimum of 12 of a year, and then after that year, you also still have the 185 days for whatever your blood work comes back. So
I don't understand.
Yeah. So okay. So you get a year for the refusal. So your license gets revoked for a year for that. And then we still get your blood because we apply for a search warrant. And then if the judge approves the search warrant, then we take your blood. And then once we take your blood, that gets sent to the lab. When we get the results back, we sign an additional revocation of your license for an additional 185 days or 6 months. So you get a year and 6 months of revocation. And that's if it's your first offense. If it's your second offense and third offense, there's an additional time added to that.
So,
and that's just not to cut you off, so they understand too. That's if you refuse to do it. And I want people to understand that if you refuse to take that test, you're gonna lose your license for a year and you won't be driving. But if you cooperate with the officer, you'll get to keep your driver's license with you. And then they'll ask for a blood test, submit a blood test and all that. And then when you go to court, it's up to the courts to decide whether they take your license or not after that. That's out of our hands because it goes to court. But if you do everything that the officer asks, let's say, hey, I would like to do a blood test, or that we just want to do further testing, and you cooperate, you'll get to keep that license.
Correct.
And then they just wait until that blood test comes back, and then it's up to courts what they want to do. But if you refuse outright to this officer and you say, hey, I'm not taking any test. Oh, you're going to take a test because he's going to do a telephonic warrant to a judge. Only takes like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, not very long. That will come across and they will take the blood from you. And then you automatically lost your license for that full year. So, and plus the 185 that he was talking about for revocation, but you lose it for a full year, and it's state law. You're not no attorney's gonna get you out of it. That's written in black and white. So once you refuse, you already lost it.
And that I was gonna bring. It's a great point that you brought up because I was gonna bring that up. Because he said, listen, even if you say no, and just like you said, we're gonna get a warrant, and when you go there to jail, we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah,
absolutely. So it's better to cooperate.
So it's better, like I say, if we
you
don't
have to
ever want anybody doing it.
Absolutely.
If the officer asks you something, we never want to put an officer into a position, or a trooper, into a position where they have to do things they don't want to do.
Yeah,
so
we want to work with the public
too.
Is
just be respectful and deal with whatever consequences there are.
At the end of the day, it's we can't give you legal advice, and so like when I'm in an arrest, all I could tell you is what it is. So I read you a spiel, or I say a spiel because I have it memorized, but I say a spiel, and then I ask if you'll submit to a blood test. If you say no, I inform you that your license is revoked for a minimum of a year, and then that's that. And then I apply for a warrant, and then once if the warrant gets granted, then I come back and I say, hey, here's the next step. I'm going to be taking your blood now. So, and there's two options with that. You can then comply with the search warrant, and I'm still taking your license for a year after I get your blood. Or if you refuse, then we have to take it by force.
And Neil, I wasn't going to, and sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you before.
No, this is great.
I wanted to kind of get this
Yeah.
in. So if you're thinking about refusing and you don't want to listen to social media or anything because we're going to end up getting it anyways.
Yes.
But if you have to work for a living, that's what I wanted to get across. You need a driver's license because once you get your driver's license suspended or revoked, you can't be driving. And if you get caught driving, guess what's going to happen to your car again? It's going to get towed. You can't get it back until you have a legal driver's license and registration and insurance. One other thing I want to add about DUIs too. We talked about the SR22, the insurance.
No, what is that?
It's mandatory insurance, and it's going to be at a higher rate because you got a DUI. So once you get a DUI, you're going to have a special insurance, and it's going to be at a higher rate because you were you got a DUI on your
essentially assigned risk.
Yep, assigned risk for driving out there. So
like all these things that people don't know, you know what I mean? And again, not that it would make a difference for everyone, right? But if this changes the mind and the thought of one person, and that one person then leads to two because they talk about it, and like it's so much information, you know what I mean, from like somebody on the civilian side, right? Because you're like, I just don't understand it, right? Like, you know, like when someone would say like, you know, you get pulled over, like, you know, I'm done, like that's it. And so once someone would say to somebody, like, just like you said, like, look, you have a good job. I'm just letting you know, like right now, you want to talk and you want to do certain things, but this isn't the time for that. This is now the time. And I hear it on the TV show. They always say, listen, this is not the time to talk. Now is the time for you to listen and to really listen to what I'm saying, because dire consequences. I mean, again, I can't even imagine the fact of, like, you know, somebody saying you can't drive, right? Like, oh, by the way, you can't drive to Burger King and pick up a cheeseburger because you're
lost
hungry.
that freedom.
You know,
I mean, it's a big thing.
And so then if you take into account that people now have to generally drive a further distance to get to work because maybe they live in a different place, or, you know what I mean, they move jobs or whatever it might be, that, you know, you can't lose the license. And again, to lose the license for the wrong choice, which could have been easily preventable. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, and so I want to get to the pictures, but I just have one question for you. The person has friends in the car, right? And so all of a sudden now, you know, because Trooper Wellman was a big proponent of this. She said, listen, if you get in the car with somebody, you better trust that person with your life. If that person is not of sane manner, then you do not need to get in the car with that person. Like, it's very simple. Like, just don't put yourself in the position to be a passenger in any seat when someone else is impaired, right?
It's like Russian roulette. I mean, that's crazy.
But so now what happens? Like everything is out of, because now you've arrested the friend, and now there's other people in a car.
It does happen a lot.
Right?
It's definitely a process. So the whole thing is that, so if you get pulled over on the freeway, which a lot of the times when we're pulling you over, it's on the freeway. I can't just say, get out of the car and start walking, because then you'd be a pedestrian on a highway, which is a crime. So therefore, now I'm stuck with you guys. And generally speaking, if the driver is under the influence, the friends are typically under the influence too. Every once in a while, the passengers are sober, which really, really throws me off, because every once in a while, sober, yeah. Every once in a while, you get a driver who is under the influence without a driver's license, and then the passenger is sober with a driver's license. And it makes me shake my head every time, because I'm like, why weren't you driving in the first place? You had all of the things that you need to drive a car. Why weren't you driving? Oh, well, he always drives, or she always drives. It's her car. It's his car. well, but you're sober and you have a license.
Right.
Like, what happened? And then, like, in those specific instances, we can allow that person to drive because they're sober and they have a license. But other than that, then, yeah, now we have to give them a ride off the freeway. Now they have to Uber to wherever their destination was, or they have to have a friend or family member pick them up. And that means that you're making a 3 a.m. call. And I don't know how many people are very happy to wake up at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And generally it's a parent, and parents typically don't tend to be very happy when you're calling them at 3 in the morning.
They have to come and pick up the
Because they have to come and pick up the people. Because
the car's going with us.
The car's
Just
going
let
with
you
us.
know.
We're towing the car.
Yeah, the car's getting towed.
So we tow the car, and then the people have to get picked up. And if it's 2-3 people, okay, we'll give them a ride off the freeway to a well lit area. But other than that, like, then you're gonna have to find a ride. And if you're trying to find a ride at 3 in the morning,
right,
your options are very thin.
And especially
so it's better to just find a original ride that is not under the influence.
Yeah.
And plan ahead.
Plan
That's
ahead.
what I got to say. Plan ahead.
Yeah.
This is why we're doing this. We're letting people know ahead of time. There's
Yeah,
nothing
because
wrong
if-
to plan ahead to have a good
ahead.
time.
Yeah, because if you're driving under the influence, you will get arrested.
That's it.
That's our job.
And that's
our
what
job.
we want people to know. I want people to know that the Nevada State Police is here, and they are not going to tolerate any type of these activities, right?
That's correct, Neil. And we're not asking anybody not to have a great time. We want everybody to come to Vegas as much as possible. This is the entertainment capital of the world. We want you to have a good time, but the whole key of this show, too, is plan ahead. We're not asking you to, we are asking you not to drink and drive or be impaired, whether you're using polydrug use or whatever. If you want to have a good time, at least keep it at the where you're at, staying at the casinos or at home. But we do not want you getting in a vehicle and driving. I mean, it's just simple as that. There's too many things out there for you. Ride shares, taxis, bus lines. We have every mode of transportation to get you to and from. So there's really no excuse to get in any car. And if you feel different and you thought, hey, I'm gonna just have a drink or two, but I just don't feel like I normally are, do not get in your car. Just don't drive. And the main thing, like I said at the beginning, is plan ahead. Just we want you to have a good time.
Plan ahead, and just because somebody is not at the legal limit does not mean that they're not impaired.
Correct.
And that they can, and that they can't get in trouble.
Correct.
And if somebody consumes any type of legal activity, they have to be prepared. If they do illegal activities, then they need to not be here at all. And the only other thing I'm going to say is that we brought up quickly is people that take prescription drugs for whatever reason, then they mix them. This is what happens.
Yeah, well, and also just to add on to that is if your prescription drugs, a lot of prescription drugs say don't mix with alcohol. Well, the reason why it says that is because alcohol is an additive to whatever drug you're taking. So if you are prescribed Xanax, we'll just use that as the example. If you're prescribed it and you're taking it as prescribed, but then you add alcohol to it, you're adding the effects of that. So yes, you might be under the legal limit of alcohol, but you're doubly impaired from the alcohol and the drug. It's just like if you're prescribed a narcotic for whatever reason, let's say you have like pain in your back or whatever, and if you're prescribed that, a lot of them say don't operate heavy machinery, which would be a car. But when you're adding that with whatever substances else, it just causes more of an effect.
Yeah, and these effects can have dire consequences.
Yes.
People lose their lives. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
luckily, hopefully, it's just you, and it's not, and you don't hurt or kill somebody else, and you still remain alive. All right. Thanks again for being here.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like part of we were talking about having you here, and again, I know you worked all night, and that people don't realize that you came in early, to do this show and all that type of stuff. But we talk about you all the time, okay? And so it's really, really important. We want people to know that everybody who works for Nevada State Police is an expert. That's why they go to the academy and they do all this training. But there are extras in the Nevada State Police that take it to the nth degree, like yourself and Trooper Donaldson. And we know that, you know, it's so passionate for you that you need to get these people off the road. So thank you again for being here. And thanks for asking them to be here. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
I want our
really
top guys
fantastic.
here.
No.
And you know what? And what's great about having these guys here is they truly are the experts. I mean, these guys go out and hustle. They're the most dedicated troopers. I mean, like I said, he's like runner-up to Trooper of the Year. And these guys just go out and blast it every night. Just talking to him today, look, he got 3 DUIs last night.
That's what
it's
I'm
amazing.
Saying. It's
amazing. But we shouldn't have to do 3 DUIs.
That's
the whole
point.
message that we're trying to get out there is we understand it's a town to party and have fun, and but we shouldn't have to do this. He shouldn't have to go get 3 DUI. He would love to have a whole night where he probably didn't have to do a DUI.
That'd
That'd be
just
great.
Driving around,
I mean,
patrolling, and just making sure that everybody's safe.
Yeah, but we appreciate
You know what
coming.
I'm saying?
Seriously,
we appreciate
absolutely.
I mean, my whole goal, and people, you know, I've had people who are like, oh, you're just trying to get me. Listen, I would love to have a week, a month, a year where there was no DUIs on the road and nobody died from a fatal crash because of a DUI. If that could happen, I'd be the happiest person on earth.
Yeah, but it doesn't, and these people are making the wrong choice.
And that's what I'm there for. Yeah. So,
let's do this, and you're catching them, and they need to know that. All right. Highlighting some of our dedicated and outstanding parole and probation division officers. So, one of the cool things that we now have on the Trooper Talk is that when Officer McClarty comes on, and he now is able to talk all about the parole and probation. And one of the things that we keep hammering to everybody is, listen, when you get a DUI and you go in front of a judge or something like this, the possibility that you could end up, we found out now it's on probation, not parole, right? Certainly does exist. If you hurt or kill someone, the possibility of you ending up into a jail or a prison, and then coming out and going on to the parole, not the probation, or right,
correct,
the parole,
correct.
right. These things exist, and so you can have a person who has a 100% normal life, who decided to make the wrong choice, that now their life as they knew it, they're not going to the soccer games anymore because people don't want to hang around with somebody who had a DUI. They may lose friends because they don't want to be around people like that. I talked to you guys about a certain company that I stopped doing business with because of an association, because I was like, I want nothing to do with people like that. You know what I mean? Like, these are real consequences.
Yeah. You see it every day.
And so these people need to understand that the parole and probation, they take up when after, like they say that you only see them for a short amount of time and then they see them for the longer amount of time. That's because they did something very bad.
Yep.
And so we love the parole and probation. Part of the Nevada State Police, if anybody wants to do recruitment. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But they take over and they make sure that they follow the letter of the law.
Yep.
And so they don't want these people on the road either. So we commend them for outstanding work.
Absolutely. And this is good that they're showing that.
And we appreciate that, right?
Yep.
And so when we talk about the fact of that someone is doing vehicular manslaughter, right? Like we see it. These terms are not thrown around lightly. When you arrest someone, you have, per se, their lives in your hands.
Right.
And you don't take that lightly.
No.
We've had the conversation before that not only you take your job extremely seriously, but that, when it comes to the badge and the honor, that it is what it is. And people have to know that. And so when you have someone out of the car and you're talking to them, the most important thing is to be respectful.
Oh yeah.
And these type of activities, because it may not change the outcome,
right?
But at least there's respectfulness when it comes to this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had a traffic stop today, stopping for a couple things, and he was just super, super respectful, and it's just appreciated. Like we're human, we're people too, and so it's like, yes, just because we're in a uniform doesn't mean we're robots, and like when you're respectful, I appreciate it, and yes, it might not change the end result. Yes, I may have to issue you a citation or take you to jail if you are under the influence, but I'm always respectful to you, and so vice versa, I do want the same respect back. Like, I'm not going to treat you bad. I'm not going to, throw you anywhere or do anything crazy, but I would like to be treated the same. Like, so whenever people are respectful, it just makes it better. It makes it easier for everybody, and then it's just smoother.
Yeah, and we had troopers who lost their life because of someone who was suspected, again, we're not talking specific, who was suspected of doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And those troopers' families are not the same. The Sergeant Abate, his mom comes into the store. Okay, I have in the store the thing that everybody signed and all that type of stuff when we had the fundraiser, and she still comes in and she's heartbroken. I gave her one; she has it hanging in her house. And so like, these are families that did nothing. They were out patrolling the roads to make sure that people were not doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and now they're not on the planet anymore.
Right.
And so part of your job is to go to these type of fatalities and talk to the media. And you have to be, with your face and everything like this, because, you can't sit there and cry and show emotion, right? And so when it comes to doing these type of things, what people don't realize is that the trickle-down effect for everyone, for the entire agency, for all the people, for all the families, for young children, you know what I mean? For Micah May, his daughter, his wife with the 2 young kids, you know what I mean? All these things are there, and so we need to ensure that people respect the troopers and that they respect all law enforcement. And so one of the things that I didn't see the other day was that I was on my drive and Metro had 2 people pulled over up on the 215, and I did not see people doing the move over law.
That's something that we're probably going to touch on here a little bit later. Absolutely.
And so what I would like people to know is that when he is doing his business on the side of the road, as difficult as it is to be watching a cars buzz past you while you're having a conversation, while the person has music on, while billowing smoke is coming out of a car, right? People need to know that when they see flashing lights, doesn't matter, tow truck, fire truck, ambulance, anything with flashing lights, they need to move over.
Yeah, and I might add on to that too, because we've talked about this in the past with the show too, but if you see a car ahead, it could be somebody out changing a tire on that side of the road. So it might not even be lights out there. So I always tell people, hey, be cautious, look ahead. And a lot of our major contributing factors of a lot of crashes is falling too close in speed. We talked about that, right? But the problem that we fall too close, a lot of people when they're driving down the interstates, is they're just focused what's in front of them, in front of their hood. So I always tell people, hey, look 5, 6 car lengths ahead. If you see some brake lights coming on and everything, that means that it's gonna come to a stop, or they're slowing down for something up ahead. And if you do see that vehicle that's parked up on the side of the road, start moving over. I mean, and it is the law for our move over law that when you see flashing lights, whether it's a tow truck, emergency vehicle, whether it's fire or police, you have to get in the next lanes because they're conducting their business. I used to, when I was a teenager and wanted to do this job, I used to get a magazine from California Highway Patrolman. That was the name of the magazine. And I got that for like 10 years as a teenager, even in my 20s or whatever. But every officer, I could say almost 80% of their officers, they always put a picture of their officer that was struck or killed on the highways on the front page of the California Patrolman, right? And when I read it, you know, being a teenager, you're always thinking they got in a shootout or something happened like that. But it was always somebody getting struck by another vehicle while they're conducting their business. And this is why we stress for the public, and I'm telling you now, that when you see an officer on the side of the road conducting his business, always try to get in that next lane. Because it's just, that's where we lose the majority of officers across the nation, actually. It's not from shootings or anything else. It's from getting struck by traffic. It's sad to say. So we got too many distracted drivers out there, too many people doing too much. And I'm not saying we got so many impaired drivers and all that. We have so much distractions, whether it's a cell phone or, like you said, the radio, or they reach down to grab something. Just 2 seconds, they get in an accident. Correct. So always pay attention. You know, so that's what I got. Yeah.
To add on to that too, please pull to the right when you get pulled over.
Yeah, don't go to the left. That's why we have large shoulders on the right. Always try to make it to the right.
Explain that.
Please pull to the right when you get pulled over. So, as you remember, maybe way back when you read the DMV book before you got your driver's license, it said that you will pull to the right when being stopped by an emergency vehicle. Or when an emergency vehicle, when you see the light, you have to slow down and move to the right. That's the law. So when you pull to the left, the problem with pulling to the left is quite a few things. One is that people don't move over. Second is that when people aren't moving over, they're typically in what everybody calls the fast lane. So if they're in the fast lane going 75 to 85 to 90 miles an hour, now you have to merge back into traffic at that speed. And our shoulders on the left aren't very big for that long. So yes, you may have found the one place that has a good shoulder on the left, but it's not there for a very long period of time, which now means that you're merging back into traffic at 80-ish miles an hour.
If you can get back in.
If you can get back in. And then you're putting us at risk because now we have the potential of that car now hitting us at 85, 90 miles an hour. And so it's added risk when we're on the left, not to mention that even when we're on the right and people don't move over. But people don't move over on both sides of the road. But if you move to the right, at least we're now dealing with the slower moving traffic rather than the 80 to 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that sometimes on the right they have like a little bit of dirt or not dirt, but like you can sort of get over. They have a little bit of a larger shoulder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they always make it larger shoulders on the right, but if you look at the lefts, usually it's like a half a shoulder or whatever. So that's why we always say, and it's also law. When you sign, like we said, that driver's license is just a privilege. And you're signing. You should, if you haven't read it, it'll tell you, move over to the right. Listen to law enforcement. If they ask you to do something, you got to do it. So those are the things that people should abide by, but they don't always think that. But I'm glad that we're getting that out to everybody. Is if you are currently getting pulled over by a law enforcement officer, always pull to the right. So
always pull to the right,
always.
and very, very important. And if you can, but you have to either decrease the speed or move over for the general motoring public so that they can do their business.
Yes,
yeah. When you see lights, you have to slow down and move over.
Slow down and move over. All right. Total lives this year already?
Yeah. Now this is something that I'll bring up, Neil, about this is. Can you see that we over almost half of our fatalities are pedestrians? And this is another thing that I'm going to bring on. I think I'm going to bring on somebody and if I can get it to work, I'll let you know later, but she is an expert and does all the stats on our pedestrian fatalities. So I'm going to try to get somebody on here too, because I'm also speaking with some people with the press now that we're trying to get this message out for pedestrian fatalities, because this is, even for Highway Patrol, the first of the year, we've already had 4. And we don't ever hardly see that, you know what I mean, for pedestrian size.
Right.
We know Metro and some of the other agencies around there have those instances, and I can't speak for those agencies.
Right, of course.
But a lot of those pedestrians, we have those fatalities. But this is almost half of our fatalities is just pedestrians. It's crazy. I've never seen it like that. So
people walk on the we've found, not in a specific way, but that people cross the freeway.
Yeah.
Right? Like
totally illegal.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't even, right? People, I'm sure, get off on the out of their car and they walk down the freeway. You know what I mean? Like all these things. The freeway.
Saw somebody enter the freeway yesterday, walking their bike on the freeway.
Okay. Like the freeway, you have to have a motoring car. And you have to have a certain amount of CCs on, like like you can't have like a moped on there or something like that goes like 30 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, your car has to be able to do at least the minimum speed limit.
Right.
The speed limit.
The speed limit, right?
65.
The thing is this, that Nevada State Police, what people don't realize is that they allow the take-home cars. And so, although the Nevada State Police, the primary business is on the freeways, it is not the only business of the Nevada State Police.
Correct.
And so, the Nevada State Police troopers, and they have to drive home. And when they drive home, they are legally allowed to pull someone over, or if there's a problem, that, you know, that's why they're Nevada State Police. And in that, they see people in the crosswalks. And if Nevada State Police already has 4 pedestrians that have been killed on the books for Nevada State Police, it's too much already.
One. Just one life.
You know what I mean?
Much. Absolutely.
So the thing that I want to talk about is this. As the motoring public, we have an inherent responsibility when it comes to the pedestrians. One of the things that not that we don't have an inherent responsibility because we're still driving on the roadway, but a lot of people walk out of the crosswalks. And so, but it's still our inherent responsibility because we're still driving the car, and we should still be paying attention, like you said, 5 car lengths ahead. And so what we have to know is that there's a responsibility on the pedestrians to walk inside of the crosswalks, and that's why they're there. And then, secondarily, there's an inherent responsibility on the motoring public because we need to make sure that we don't have any more of these throughout the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the crosswalks are lit at intersections. And like I tell people, if they're going to be walking at night, we're not telling people what to wear, but if you have like some type of reflective or light clothing, it's a lot easier to be seen. We have so many people who wear dark clothing, and like you said, they're not walking in the crosswalks. And when you're driving and they come out in the roadway, it happens so fast you don't have time to stop. You know what I mean? And that's why we always advise people, don't try to take shortcuts. Don't jaywalk. Try to make that intersection, even if it's not even a quarter of a mile just to walk down there. It's your safety. But then also for motoring public, if you're approaching an intersection, slow down and kind of be aware, because now you're getting close to where pedestrians could be crossing.
Right.
So there's a whole different gamut of things that you can or can't do, and I think we'll probably end up doing an episode down the road too, just on this, so we can kind of educate the public, not only the motoring public, but also our pedestrians that like to walk or travel other ways by bus or whatever, so we can get that message out to them.
Yeah, to add to that too, you guys know the areas that you're driving in. So if you know it's a high pedestrian trafficked area, if you know that there's a lot of pedestrian traffic wherever it is that you are, then you have to take the extra caution to ensure that you're not going to hit somebody. So you shouldn't be going 70 miles per hour in a 45 mile an hour zone in an area, especially in an area that is high trafficked by pedestrians. Because if there's an area that has a lot of pedestrians, it's kind of like guaranteed that one of them isn't going to do something the right way. And if they jaywalk across the road and now you hit and kill them because you couldn't slow down in time, then now you have that life on your hands for the rest of your life.
And when someone is impaired, their reaction time is different.
Correct.
When someone is impaired, the distracted driving, I don't know if it is more prevalent or not, but maybe, you might be more distracted.
Yeah.
And so when we add these things there, then you take into a fact of the pedestrian safety. All these things don't mix.
Right.
And so we cannot be impaired on the roadway, because if you are impaired on the roadway, you cannot see what is ahead of you, and maybe there's some of these pedestrians on a roadway, and when it comes to the freeway, maybe if you're doing distracted driving and you're impaired, you're not paying attention to the red brake lights or something of this nature, and that's how we have accidents of people that hit people from behind.
Yep.
It's all reactionary time.
All reactionary time.
Yep.
So we have to stop the people that are doing the impaired, and we have to do something about the pedestrian. We're going to do a show on that pedestrian thing.
Absolutely.
I think that's all right. Nevada State Police, they only have one handle. Did you know that? They used to have 3 or 4, and
We
now
cleaned it up.
And they cleaned it up, so now they only have one. And so this is when they wake him up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they say, "Do me a favor, post this on the Twitter that Durango Road is going to be closed." And he's like, "Really, 4 o'clock in the morning?"
Yeah, and you know what? In this flyover, I was trying to think in the area, because you know how you have the flyover ramps, like we have 15 and over by the Durango. And so I did an updated one. It was actually the overpass. So that was my mistake. I mean, I'm only human. So what I meant to make, because I wasn't going to put bridge, you know what I mean? It's not the bridge, it's on the overpass. So if you look at the next one I put on there, because it was shortly after that, because I had to update it because they ended up closing the entire, what was it? Northbound and southbound Durango. Yeah,
Yes.
so I had to update it. And then I put overpass on, so that was the correct thing. But when you're in the morning trying to do this in the morning to try to alert, my main thing is to let traffic know, because now we're getting closer to this is going to hit our rush hour time. So I always want to make sure that everybody's updated right away, so you can kind of avoid that area, or like we said, plan ahead, so you know when you're going to go to work. We're not going to take this area. We're going to come around the area. We're going to avoid the whole area ahead. And that's part of my plan ahead deal, is to get this information out right away.
And I will tell you, what's interesting? So I take my drive in the morning. I go from town center to, I used to go to Decatur, but now that you can't get, when you get on Decatur, you have to take that stupid side road before you get onto Jones to get on the freeway. So now I just go to Jones, and then I turn around. And so I saw that in the morning. Okay. And I went for my drive, and I'm driving, and all of a sudden, I see on the right-hand side Durango Boulevard, and I see they had the cones there, right? And they blocked off the road, and you see the 2 troopers, up top there, right? But here's the thing. If you're not paying attention, the next road is Russell.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? Everybody was slamming on their brakes around the blind corner. And then you had the lunatics who would go in the fast lane and then cut over 5 lanes to cut everybody off.
Because they wanted to get that next exit.
Because they wanted to, because they didn't realize that Durango was closed, so they had to get off at Russell. And then when they got off at Russell, they probably realized, oops, I'm not going to be able to go to a coffee place and get coffee, or I'm going to be 10 minutes late to work now because this road is closed and I have to trap. Distracted driving can kill.
Absolutely.
And so luckily, when nothing happened after this accident, right? But it was around a very dangerous corner that if someone was impaired, it would have been the perfect scenario that they go, look, I travel this road, like you said, I'm drunk and high every day. I travel this road for 1,000 years, but not today.
Yep. And that's where something happens to them or someone else.
Right, and they kill.
Yeah. Talking on the distracted driving.
Yeah.
I just had this crash. It was one of the construction areas that is all over the valley. It was one of the construction areas, and so this construction area in particular had pre signage, so it had the arrows saying, hey, this lane's about to be closed, it's about to not be a lane. There was a bunch of cones, there was like all of the things. And then there was a hard wall in this area. And this person decided to ignore all of the signage and then go to the right into what was now not a lane anymore because they're like rebuilding the road or doing whatever they're doing. And then she went into a dirt embankment because didn't want to listen to all of the signage and everything else. And the crazy part about it is that so they had gone off, so they had all, like I said, all of the pre-signage. Then they had to drive past two orange neon signs that were metal. They had to drive past that. They had to drive past a dirt rock like thing, and then to end up where they were. Like they had to drive essentially 500 to 700 feet in this non-road anymore.
Not paying attention.
Not paying attention. That's all it is. Because you can't do all of that paying attention. Like that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, they don't set both signs together. They offset the signs farther down. You know, those lit signs telling you, hey, the lane's ending, lane construction. Or you know what I mean? It just keeps going. But people just do not pay attention. They're always in a hurry to get somewhere. And this is one good thing about our show, not only talking about impaired driving and everything else, but planning ahead, because you wouldn't have to race or get crazy to get everywhere you want and not pay attention if you just plan ahead and make it. And I understand, we talked with Officer McClurdy last time and how crazy it gets
because he's always thought
in Vegas
he plans ahead now and he shows up on
time. Because he learned because you know what? Construction is everywhere in the Vegas Valley. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I swear they get some grants. Oh, let's put some cones up and we'll get another grant or something. But it's everywhere. So if it's gonna hurt your time in getting to work in the mornings or whatever, it's simple to plan ahead. Yep. Find different routes later on to take. And then I also said, hey, you could always go. We got 45,000 followers on Nevada State Police, or 47 or something like that. And a lot of them will look if for this specific reason in the mornings if they're going to work.
Yeah.
Or I told them Nevada NDOT, the road, they put all the road closures.
Last week, right?
Excellent, because especially if you're working around the casinos and the 15, it always gives you the updates for the Tropicana exit and that construction in the whole areas, because that's a large project and it affects a lot of people. So I always tell them just go to NDOT to the roads like on X, and they can find out what the latest is going on there. So plan ahead. I mean, that's the whole thing. And pay attention. Too much distracted driving out there. We got so much going on in our cars anymore.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to the basics of just driving your car and getting there. And then you can spend your time getting on your phone and your Facebook or whatever you got to do. Just get where you got to go and pay attention to the road, because you know what? You get in a crash. Now you gotta get your car towed. You got to get a rental car. You got to get your car that you love or don't love fixed, and you know what I mean, repainted, all that stuff. It all takes time and money. Time versus money. It's the same. So that's why I'm always saying, hey, just try to plan ahead, do what you got to do to avoid these things, and don't get in a hurry. That's the whole thing. A lot of our crashes now is from falling too close and speed. If we can just start slowing a lot of that down, we wouldn't have a lot of these crashes out here. So.
Yeah.
And to add on that too is when you when you do crash your car, because that will happen, when you do crash your car, now you're not making it to work. So you did all of that rushing for nothing.
For nothing.
It costs you money.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that back in the day, we used to have to change the radio stations. Now you just put it on like XM or whatever it is, and you're just like you just listen to it.
Well, a lot of it is on your steering wheel.
It's on your steering wheel too.
You can switch your channels or whatever. I mean, it's not hard to learn on that. You don't even have to take your hands off the road.
Hey, Trooper Thayer does it with his motorcycle. We talked about all those buttons and gizmos and things like that. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to talk about was so you drive the Ghost Cruiser.
I have a slick top, but yes.
The slick top.
Yes.
So do people blow past you at 100 miles an hour all the time?
Oh, yeah. But I think I said this the last time.
Yeah.
I could be driving a hot pink patrol car with a neon sign that says I'm the police, and they'd still pass me.
Still
like I was
pass you.
standing. So the situational awareness is gone. Just like the distracted driving, it all plays a part with each other.
Right.
It's very, very hard to pay attention when you're buried in your phone, or your food, or your makeup, or your radio, or your phone call, or all the other things that you're doing other than driving a car at 75, 85, 95, 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said the same thing too about the hot pink thing the last time. He goes, if I was driving a hot pink car, we should do a thing like that. Nevada State Police hot pink car. People drive.
Maybe we
past
should
at
wrap
100
one
miles
of our
an hour.
cars and do a test.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I could drive like that. I 100% guarantee we could do all the media coverage on it.
We'd still be getting people. All day long.
And the whole thing about it is that unfortunately, and it is unfortunate, people just aren't aware. They just don't pay attention.
They don't pay attention.
I had a car just the other day. I was just driving, kind of waiting for my shift to be done. I was close to the end, and this car just flies past me at 90, and I was like, well, I guess I can have one more conversation. And so we go to have that talk. But it's all about, like, no one is focused on the road and everybody's worried about themselves. It's selfish.
Yeah, and in today's world, it's very it's very easy to go fast.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can get into any car and it drives fast, and you know what I mean, and all that type of stuff. But the thing is that you have to be respectful of the road. You know what I mean?
Others.
Yeah. The other day when I was driving home in the rain, I just left, and because I was trying to beat the rain home, there was one of these cars, and I won't mention the name, but it was a 2-wheel drive little sporty car, and he went around the curve on off of Flamingo to get on the 215 right over here. And he went like this and just jammed on the gas to try to, play around with, because like I was driving my car. Yeah. And like he was like 1 second away from like that thing going into the wall.
When we drive everywhere in Vegas, do you see all the black marks on the side of our wall?
I do.
You know how many people strike those walls every day? It's unbelievable. And they're not reporting these accidents. I mean, I'm sure they're going to their pay out of pocket to get their cars fixed.
They're embarrassed enough.
I had two. So in the last 2 days, I've had a crash in the same exact spot. Both hit the wall at the same exact spot. So it was 15 north to go 215 west. That ramp that's right there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So the first person smacked into the median. She or he was also DUI, so that's another factor.
Reactionary.
But then this other person that decided to, also DUI, but they hit the wall and then went up the rock embankment 50 feet.
So there's no slowing down.
So that's obviously speed, because you don't just hit a wall and then slam up a rock embankment 50 feet going 45 miles an hour.
Right.
You have to be speeding like that. You can't get directed with that much force unless you're going fast. And if you're going fast in a construction area, which that is, because they're doing something over there, in a single lane road on a curve, that's very, very poor decision making.
Did you hear what he said after he wanted to just tell a story? right? He wanted to just, out of his mouth, he just wanted to say, listen, there was a car that, you know, hit the embankment, and, you know, I got into him, it was a crash, and, you know, they just had a fender damage, and they just wanted to go away. But no, that's not what he said.
Oh, the DUIs came out.
Oh, by the way, I just want to let you know that they hit the thing, and they were both DUI.
Yeah, but isn't that sad though? I mean,
no,
it's just
sad. That's my.
That's why we have him here. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not saying it because people lose their lives every day, and I'm not trying to make a joke.
Oh, we would never do that.
In any way about the DUIs and DWIs and all this type of stuff, but at the end of the day, where I sit is that, you know, like, out of an expert's mouth who just pulled over 3 people last night for DUI. You know what I mean? He just wanted to tell a story.
Absolutely, and he can't tell a regular crash story without having them be DUI. And that's telling you a story right there. That we got some serious issues, and I mean, that's why we're here, is to try to educate people and get the motoring public to do what's responsible, not only for themselves, but being responsible for everybody around them.
They have to be. You know what I mean? Like he's a normal guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He goes and works. He has the family, and you know what I mean? Like all this stuff, but like
crazy. I know, Neil.
Well, that's somebody who's pretty low. I was almost surprised there, Johnny. Huh? 0.106. I was, you know what I mean? Even though the legal limit is 0.08. You know, I see people on that TV show all the time. They say, okay, blow into the breathalyzer test, and they go, and they go, blow.
Yeah.
No, you have to blow.
There's a sound indicator on it, so we know if you're blowing or not.
And this one lady I was watching the other day, I mean, the trooper, he was in Arkansas, right? He had so much pain. I mean, like 12 times. Listen, blow.
Not that far.
Yeah, I did a couple times, and you're done.
You need to blow. And so here's the thing. These tests are there to prove, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, to prove certain scenarios.
Right.
I have seen on that show that I watch where they sometimes suspect someone of something, of alcohol, and they blow into this, and they blow like, you know, very low, and they've let them go. You know what I mean? Because they're not not like super impaired. You know what I'm saying? And so they, like, you know, they had a drink a few hours ago or something like this. And so any type of impairment is not good. Correct. And any type of impairment doesn't make a difference. You should not be on the road. The thing is this, that these tests are there for you to prove all of your scenarios. Right. And so one of the things that I think we talked about the last time that you were here is the combination of all of these things. Right. You know, the lane change, you know, like all these things can make up the impairment, even though you're not, even though you're below the blood alcohol limit. That doesn't mean that you're still not impaired. Correct. And you can still be arrested, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the field sobriety tests are designed to prove or disprove my suspicion. So I am putting you through the battery of tests to determine whether or not you're under the influence. If you perform the test satisfactorily, then you're back in your car and you're on your way. If that's not the case, then we're going to jail.
And can I add something too?
Yeah, sure.
This is just a preliminary breath test. So if an officer asks you to blow in this test, this can't be used against you in a court of law.
Correct.
This is just going to kind of let us know where you're at. And let's say that you're just extremely tired and maybe you did have that one drink, and I'm just saying one drink because everybody says, oh, I had 2 drinks and all that. But let's say you really did have one drink and it was just earlier and you're tired, you do have some bloodshot eyes. But this just confirms that you were not over the limit, you know, because it's 0.08 here in Nevada. But what I wanted to tell people, when the officer uses this at the scene, it can't be used against you in a court of law.
Correct.
This is just an extra tool that we use, but this will never show up on any report, and it won't show up, it can't be used to you in front of the judge. The actual testing that we use is the intoxilizer machine, which gives a validated and certified your times, your alcohol levels, everything by that. But this won't be used against you. So if an officer asks you just to blow on it. It can't be used against you in the court of law.
To add on to that too, this preliminary breath test is a lot smarter than you think. And if you try to fake the machine, it knows. So when you're puffing your cheeks and looking like you're blowing, if there's no audible sound, we know you aren't blowing. And if you want to use like a light breath, you're just going to be there longer because it waits until it gets enough air sample to calculate whatever result it needs. So do the test as prescribed, and then on your way we go.
Yeah, and we're not going to fool around with this. I mean, if you blow a couple times, you don't want to do it, then we just get rid of it. Because we already have enough. Usually, we know what we're.
So what I say is like, for me is hey, this is a preliminary breath test. Will you submit to a preliminary? It can't be used against you in court. Will you submit to a preliminary breath test? And if they say yes, I go, okay, great. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a deep breath in, seal your lips around the tube, and then blow like you're blowing a balloon. Long, deep, consistent breath. Deep breath in, and then blow, 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 until I say, and then I'll say stop. But when you start puffing your cheeks or doing all of the games or doing all the stuff,
right, you're done.
I go, listen, this machine's a lot smarter than me and you. All right, don't try to fake the machine. Try again, and then if they do the thing, whatever, I give them 3 shots. So on the 3rd try, if they start playing games, I'm like, all right, we're done, and then we go to jail.
Like that's it, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is that what people have to know is that you're very respectful. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you're there. Not only you're doing your job, but the thing is that this is what your passion is. And so when you're talking to people and stuff like this, like, you're not doing it to be a nasty person. You're doing it because you want to get somebody who is impaired off the road. And if somebody's not impaired, which is something that I do see, which is what you just talked about, which is that if you do those preliminary tests and you are found to not be impaired, you are getting back in your car and driving away.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And so there are people that have very bad insomnia and these type of things that you would think they might be wasted, and they're probably not. And so that takes an expert to be able to determine that. And that's why he's on the road making sure that these people that are impaired are off the road.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yep.
Hey, and then also on the toxilizer machine, when you get to the office, same goes. If you start messing around trying to not blowing that, guess what's going to happen? Trooper Slater is going to call a judge and just get a telephonic warrant in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, because usually on your first offense, you get to choose blood or breath. And let's say you do breath.
If it's alcohol only.
Yeah, alcohol only. So if drugs are not suspected, I should say. So let's say you mess around with the intoxilizer machine there and don't want to, guess what's going to happen? We're going to end up taking blood. And it's going to be a telephonic warrant, and you're not going to have a choice. So just wanted to say that on that.
And again, they will lose their license.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right,
so they got to understand. That's about listening to the officer and doing what they're requesting.
Yeah, because a lot of the times, when you say, so if it's alcohol only and we say, okay, what do you want, breath or blood? Typically people are like, oh, I want breath because I don't like needles. Okay, I understand that. And then you start messing around or doing the things. I go, listen, we're going to give this one more chance. If you can't give me a sufficient breath sample, we're moving on. Because I'm not going to sit there all night waiting for you to fake the test. It's just not going to happen. And then once they don't give me the correct sample, I go, okay, obviously you weren't able to do that well. Will you submit to a blood test? And then, no, I don't like needles. Okay, well, then your license is going to be revoked. And then I'm going to go apply for a warrant, and then...
And that's it. And
that's
so,
it.
like, you know what I mean? Like, listen, sir, or ma'am, you know what I mean? Like, look, I'm not going to play around with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm giving you an opportunity. And again, I'm giving you an opportunity to do this in the right way, in the right manner, and to be able to possibly keep your license.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
18 months of losing license.
All right.
Well, I want you to know that this means that we're almost done. It was really special for you to come in. I want people to know, again, that you worked all night, that you came in early in the morning to accomplish this. We had to set this up, and that, you know, you're gracious to come in here anytime we ask. And so we appreciate it more than anything, because you coming here is going to stop someone from being impaired, because they're going to watch this and they're going to say, he's out there. You know, when Trooper Hagstrom and I, we come in here and we rant and we rant and we rant and we rant. It's fantastic, and that's why we showed the pictures. But to be able to have someone like you come in, be able to have someone like Trooper Donaldson come in, who, you know what I mean? Like, it really does make a difference, and people are noticing. And so that's all that we hope for. You know what I mean? Is that those people are noticing, and that they're telling a friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
Know, I won't see you, but
always a pleasure.
You know what I mean? It's wonderful to be able to hang out and spend time and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And if anybody needs a job,
yeah,
Nevada State Police, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But you know what? And I want to thank Schlater for coming out, because he worked all night, got 3 DUIs, very impressive. But he's also an expert, because he does all of our training in our annual block training. So he does all the SFTs, all the field tests. He explains everything. He knows everything there is about not only alcohol, but the poly, marijuana. Very, very well known, and I'd like to have you come in again sometime if you'd love to, because we can catch up on some other stuff, because this is a guy who could actually talk hours on, you know, just impaired driving. So, which is really good for us to get the knowledge on that. Also, I want to tell everybody out there, we're always hiring, NevadaStatePolice.com. We're looking, if you don't want to be a law enforcement officer, if you want, we're hiring dispatchers right now on the civilian side, so we really do need dispatchers out there, and if you want to look into it. But also parole and probation, we have openings there also. So if you want, we're one of those agencies that if you want to do a ride-along, or if you want to sit with a dispatcher or go do a ride-along with parole and probation, this is an agency that you can actually see and do the job, well, not actually do it, but see and be with the people doing the job before you even think about applying or looking into the job. So this is a great benefit that we have with the state police.
And I was just going to add that, you know, Sergeant Whitmarsh, you know, had a DUI death in the family, and so he's very passionate about that. And one of the things that I have found by talking with a lot of people is that some people had a tragedy in their life, whether it's a family member or a friend or something, and that's why they're so passionate about the DUIs and things like this. So I would like to talk, not now, we'll have you come on, but I would like to talk about the training.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, we talk about what goes into the academy and things of this nature, and one of the best things about when you're in the academy is you get to sort of choose which way you would like to go. And so whether it's for EVOC or DUI or, you know, but there's experts in the field that are willing to train you from nothing. So maybe something happened and you want to change that for the community of Las Vegas. Here's an expert that would love to sit with you. So I would like to, you know, we never really talked about that.
Sure. And that's why I'm glad that we brought him on, because
I would like to.
He's an expert in this field.
That. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anytime. I mean, I told him outside before we came in, I can talk about DUI related topics for hours and hours on end. It's what I'm passionate about. I love talking about it. That's why I teach it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I teach it to all the agencies in the Valley. It's not just for us. I teach for almost every agency that's here. And it's just something that I love to talk about. And so we can talk about all the classes and all the different things that there are. We could talk about the different types of training that I've done, because I've done various types of training and all sorts of other things. So we could talk all about it.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. That would be a great topic.
Okay.
Because, again, there's somebody out there that really wants to do the DUI, but they want to follow somebody who knows how to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
You
Well,
know
we
what
all
I'm
get
saying?
trained.
So-
We're supposed to do it the right way every time. You know what I mean? That's what. Remember when we talked about last week, muscle memory?
Yeah.
And the more we train, even though we do this annually, there's other classes that we have to do. You know, even firearms. You know, 4 or 5 times a year or whatever. But it's muscle memory and also learning it to do it correctly every time. And one good thing about when you have a DUI or driving impaired, take them to jail, we have an actual sheet that we follow. So everything is followed correctly when we're doing the times and how we take our breath test. So it's almost, I shouldn't say impossible, it could happen, but it's almost impossible to screw up because you're going right down the sheet and you're filling it in the way it's supposed to be. You're trained that way. So every time, that's why a lot of attorneys and judges know that we're experts in the field, because this is what we do for a living. And we make sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, because we have solid reports. So when somebody gets stopped, we're gonna do everything by the letter of the law and have it all documented. And not only that, everything's on video nowadays. So not only do we have it on video, but we all have it in written. So that's how it goes. So.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Of course.
And so we'll see you very soon, right?
Sounds
All
good.
right, well, make sure you wave. All right, stay
Thank
off
you,
the
everybody.
roads if you're
Thank you.
impaired.